You're under arrest. Oh, you're wondering why? Oh, because you've been consuming all this great content and you're not subscribed. That's embarrassing. It's a new year. Subscribe. Thank you.
Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. Hi guys. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit tired today, so bear with me.
It's the second to last week of the year.
Yeah. It's been a long year.
It has.
It's been a long year and a quick year at the same time, you know, because how is it Christmas in 2 days?
Wow.
Obviously, it would have been Christmas by the time you guys see this. So
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and you're resting.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a common theme that I'm seeing on social media. Like, people just need rest.
Yeah, and we're not resting.
Yeah.
So
How can we rest when they're making us work?
Okay.
I was waiting for that.
That's right.
There's just more responsibilities. I feel like there's always something to do these days. Like, the older we're getting, there's always something to do. Like, if I'm ever on my bed just chilling, it's not as if I don't have something to do. I have to choose peace in that moment. So don't get it twisted. I'm busy, but I just decide to just ignore everything to put my mental health first.
That one.
No, because Gilmore Girls is my show at the moment, guys.
Gilmore Girls.
Like, yeah. Ashley told me it's good. But I think I just saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, you started watching it already.
Then she told me it was good. And it's from 2006. I realised the old shows are better than the new
shows.
Oh,
100%.
Anyway,
I've been saying this.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But hi, everyone.
Welcome
back to the Sit Down with Sisters podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ayo.
I'm Teddy.
And I'm Ashley.
Our last episode of the year, guys, unless it's the other way around, but you never know. Anyways, today we wanted to talk about something that disclaimer actually before I say what it's about marriage, it's about children, which both of those things we are not married and we are not
sorry
parents.
The way you said that,
just to let everybody know, so just in case you're coming,
not yet, but as of right now,
exactement. So anything that we say is from the lens of being someone else's child, you know, and potentially being in relationships as well, you know, because I think you can give insight to things even if you're not there. And
it's our desire as well that we one day want to be married and have children.
I think honestly the disclaimer is so important, so thank you for that, because I know a lot of people can definitely start attacking us and saying we're not married women, what do we know? Okay, but we're
sorry,
we're so sorry, please accept our apology,
take it easy,
please.
Thank you.
We're a podcast, so you know we have discussions about everything.
It's what we do,
you know, and as usual we relate it back to scripture.
Exactly.
Always.
And I just thought this would be interesting to speak about with the girls, because we're all women and we with the aspiration of being mothers one day, and I just think it would be interesting because we know people that probably came from single parent households and also from married households, so I think it'll just be interesting. But essentially there's an influencer online, her name is Ron Karaji, and she was talking about how she feels as though if she knew she would end up being a single mum, she wouldn't have had children. And I feel like that was quite a strong statement for her to make, just because obviously her children are now I think 6 and 5 or 5 and 4, and like I feel like anyone hearing that at first would just be, I remember when I saw the title of the video, I said, oh, that is a strong statement, but it takes a lot. I think it's a very honest statement, if we're being honest. And she was coming from the lens of, she was someone who was married and then had her kids, and not long after having and they had her kids back to back as well, keep that in mind, and not long after having both of her kids, her marriage dissolved and now she's divorced. And she just feels as though her point was essentially that children were not made to be brought up by one individual. Like in order to even have a child, there's already 2 people involved. So she was coming from the lens of like, bringing up of a child is a 2-person job, and so if she knew she was going to be a single mother, she wouldn't have had kids. Now what do you guys think?
I think I'm not gonna lie, I really, really admire her honesty, because I think on social media there's this, I think it's very glamorized to be a single parent, and I'm not talking about the people who are a single parent and they're showing you like their day to day and how they're managing, but it's almost like people are okay if that happens, and some people are even striving for it. They're like, okay, well, I don't want to get married, so I just want to have my kids and that's it, live my life that way. So it's very interesting to see like the shift, because let's be real, it's always been there. Like there's always been people who have been single parents. It's nothing new. It's just that we're seeing it more because of social media and just multimedia and just all of that stuff. But yeah, I find her statement just very, very honest. Especially because people might think,
a bit too honest.
Yeah, especially because people think, I probably see that and think, oh wow, like she has these 2 kids. So is she saying she regrets them? Is she saying X, Y, Z? How's it going to feel like when her children grow up and they have to see that? So there is that aspect of it. But again, it's honest. And if I'm honest myself, I agree with her that children aren't supposed to be raised
in a one parent.
Yeah. That it's supposed to be 2-parent household.
I think the first point that I did want to make was what you said about on the receiving end as the kids. That was the first thing that struck me, because I don't know, my thing with social media, and I've always said this, it's not as if you cannot be honest on social media, but there's a way you say things, there's a way you construct your sentences and just put certain things out there, because like you said, those kids are going to grow up one day
and they're going to see
hopefully they give their mum the grace to understand where she was coming from, but it's so easy to see it from a different perspective and think, you know, did you regret having us because dad isn't, you know, there to help you anymore, that sort of thing. So that's the first thing I will say. I also feel like this might be a bit of a weird take. Nobody gets married in hope for divorce. Right. Let's make that very clear.
Because I actually do think people do nowadays.
Right. However,
not hopes. Yeah, you're right.
No one should have that mindset, because if you do, I don't think like you might need to go back to scripture and
evaluate what you think marriage is. Yeah.
Right. But the way I see it is, when you put yourself in a position in life or a situation in life where you make certain life choices, this might sound controversial. It's very important to know anything can happen. And by saying that, it could be death, it could be divorce. Not to say, again, it's not in the forefront of your mind. I'm not saying that. But if her partner hasn't passed away, but let's just say it was the instance where she's still in the same result of her being a single parent and her partner has passed away, or he's terminally ill, he can't help her, for better for worse, right? So she would still be raising those kids by herself. At this point, it wasn't it wouldn't have been the circumstances of a divorce where you've both agreed to separate. It would have been under different circumstances, but the results is still the same, where you would still have to raise those kids by yourself.
Right.
So I don't think it's fair that you would say you would take that back, because anything in life can happen. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying.
That is such a good point, and it made me now think of the scenario where people are actually married but feel like single parents in their marriage. Because that's a whole other conversation as well, where there's a lot of people that are married, and people can probably testify to this, that they had 2 parents in their house, but their one parent was more active in their life, one parent was more present. And I actually think to have a person there in your home and for them to not pull the weight that is needed for, you know, as the secondary parent, is actually also heartbreaking as well.
Yes.
But I really liked your point, because it's so true. Like, anything can happen.
And
so it's not to say you should be preparing for the worst, but I guess in a statement, it's kind of like a statement of potential regret.
Yes.
Which is like...
And you cannot regret hard, because it's not as if she's done anything wrong. If you look at it,
she even followed it by the letter.
Yeah, she got married. It's the next thing after that, biblically, have kids, build a family. So you've done all of that. You cannot regret that. It's just unfortunate that the result has been that case for you, you know, but it could have been anything. That man could have been terminally ill, and he's still married to you, or like you said, present fathers that are not so present. He's there but he's not there. But this time, it just, with her situation, happened to be divorced. So you can't regret having children. Again,
are you liking this video? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
Disclaimer, I'm not in that situation. I've never been. I'm not a married woman. I don't know. This is just obviously looking outside in
and just having
and I just feel like I do understand what she is saying to some extent, because it's like, if I had known, but you can never know anything in life. Anything that you do in this life, you just have to sort of go and hope for the best and pray to God.
I think that's what makes it difficult, is because if we're going by that statement, then it can be applied across the board. Like, oh, if I knew like just to even take it just away from motherhood, if I knew that I'd get fired, I wouldn't have applied for the job.
Right.
If I knew that this relationship would break down, I wouldn't have gotten with that person to begin with.
That's literally it.
It's almost like
you can't cheat life.
Not unfortunately, but with life, there's always risks. There's always, and it's like you said, whether it wouldn't have been divorce, it could have been death, it could have been an illness, it could have been. There's people in marriages who they feel like they're a single parent because they take the majority of the responsibility. Like I know loads of people who feel like that growing up. They had 2-parent households, but they were more close to one parent, or just the other parent just wasn't really there. So I think to kind of come at it from that angle, and again, I'm not a single parent, so I can't imagine like the weight, the heaviness, like just feeling like, especially having kids close in age like that.
I can imagine.
I think you said 4 and 5
going through.
That is toddler age.
They're
that
young,
is
or 5 and 6. One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. But it's still really, really, having kids under 10. Period. Is just, it's a lot. So I really commend parents, like single parents, that are raising kids and
alone,
still trying to remain sane at the same time, especially in the economy that we live in and just the way the world is going. Easy. It is. I'm trying to keep afloat myself, right? So I can't imagine now a parent and two kids or dependent on you.
And I think she was coming. What's interesting about it is she was coming at it from the lens of, she's Nigerian. She also has a child with special needs. One of her children has special needs, he's got autism. And so I feel like sad. That, and so from her lens, the only reason I can see both sides, like I can see every side that we've mentioned, because from one angle, she was talking about the loneliness that comes with it, the fact that now, like, you know, you're all the temper tantrums, all the things that would be, you know, you could tag team with your partner, you're doing alone. And then on top of that, like, you don't get to really, she feels like women of this generation, well, I guess women for all time, actually, not this generation, have always had to sacrifice their ambitions, their goals, everything. They're even the looking after themselves. They have to sacrifice everything
that gets
for
put
their
on
kids.
The back burner.
So then on top of that, if you're a single parent and you're a mum at that, like, how do you navigate, like, keeping yourself afloat, like what you were saying, like that, whilst being a single parent? And so there's so much to what she said that I was like, wow, like, it's what we all know, parenting is not a joke.
Even if it's even in a 2-parent
house,
it's still a lot.
Not to speak of by doing it by yourself, 2 kids at that one that requires special care.
There's so many layers, because people could now be like, oh, but you know, I'm sure they're co-parenting. But this is the thing about co-parenting. I don't even think it should be called co-parenting, to be very honest with you, because if the kids have a primary caretaker, I'm guessing they're with her majority of the time, and then they go and see their dad or whoever on the weekends or twice a month, or
one person is still doing
the majority of the responsibilities. And if it's like, you have them for a weekend, that's like a 2-day break, and then that's if nothing has happened and they're like, they want to come back home, all of this thing. So majority of the responsibility is still on the primary guardian. So I can imagine why she probably feels the way she feels, because she's doing it all.
And I mentioned her being Nigerian because she related back to, like, back in Nigeria and like most African countries, when you bring up a child, it's the whole village mentality of you have many people that will help you look after that child. But she lives in America, and obviously I feel like in the western side of the world, loneliness is at an all-time high. And on top of that, like, the village mentality for looking after kids is lost. Like, people, when we were growing up, I don't know about you guys, but I know, like, I feel like we used to be around people more, or like your parents would drop off at an auntie's house, or, you know,
around other kids.
You'd be with other kids and other families a lot more. But
nowadays, it was more of a community. Like back then, if parents were going out to work, all the children would stay in this place. There was just that team. It was just like our generation. Obviously, we're not the new adults. It's not like that. It's not like that. Like, the first gen.
I feel like we'll be like that by God's grace. But I feel like a lot of people now are so weary of other people, which is fair. There's reason to be, but a lot of people are very weary, and they're very much like, oh no, me and my kids, this is how we do it over here.
Or it's what can I get out of this? Like, what is this going to do for me?
And in a world of social media, I always bring it back to social media, is create more room for loneliness, because everyone's just content on their phones at home, doing one thing or another. As long as they have their laptop, as TikTok is open, they're good. They feel like they don't need anything. Whereas back then, you got to play outside to make friends. You can't make friends via Twitter followers. Do you know what I mean? Real friends you had to make. So things have changed a lot. So that community aspect of raising a child is honest. I genuinely feel like it is lost.
Very. And it's scary because I can imagine, say for instance you're a single parent like her, you come home, she's an influencer, so thank God she gets to work for herself.
Yeah.
But like, say for instance you come home from like a hard day's work and you don't get that time, like, you know, say for instance you can switch off with a parent.
Yes.
Like say for instance the wife is a stay at home and then the dad goes out.
Yes.
Like even though he is working, he will probably want to switch off with the mum when he comes back home, like spend a little bit of time with his kids, and then, you know, so she gets a moment to
you
go
can
and
alternate.
yes. Or, you know, there's just ways you can like ease each other's load.
Yeah.
There's none of that with a single, like,
she can't switch off at all.
And with kids, you know, like things with working, you can't even compare a 9 to 5 to like being a mum, because you're consistently on the clock. Like we all hear, like, you know how mums say they can hear their kid when they're sleeping, when they like if they cry, like they just wake up, they know. Like imagine that's the kind of like alertness you're on for your child, and that's just 24/7.
You know, you know what it is, again, like, considering all the points that we made, which I think are very, very valid, again, I don't know why, but my thing with social media, I just have to go back to it. I think it's so important what you put on social media. You can't take it back once you've posted it.
Right.
So I think it's so important to, whilst these days vulnerability and being completely transparent and honest is appreciated more on social media, I can't help but I do believe there's a cap on it.
You think people are oversharing?
A little bit. Sorry, I don't mean I do feel like there should be a cap on it, simply because things can be misconstrued. Like things can just, it's subjective, it's how you view it. You know, people can make things,
people can take it how they want to take it.
Whilst some people can say that's not my business, that's not what I mean to put out there, my intentions are different, absolutely. But again, we're talking about children. Kids are involved. They don't want to grow up and the social media has changed the narrative of what she said. Again, I'm not in that position. Just to make clear, but what I probably would have done is something I can confide in a friend with. We can have with you guys. We can have that discussion. Like, this is how I'm feeling. But to put something like that on social media, as much as I see her intentions and I see her point, it can.
You don't think she should have put it up there?
On the topic of social media, I think it's funny though, because I feel like that's probably why a lot of people feel how she feels, but they don't say. Right. Because parenting has become glamorized now. You see people doing the routine of, oh, this wake up with me and my children, you know, I'm just, you know, making everybody breakfast, and then this one. And people have made parenting look like anybody can do it. And not everybody can. Like,
I don't completely agree.
I don't think everybody can be a parent. Like, I don't think everybody should be a parent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You understand, like, you can never understand until you're in the shoes of a parent, but as in until you have a level of like understanding of what it's going to require of you, because it's not a job that is like aesthetic. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can make a routine all you want, but that parenting is not, it's not aesthetic.
Once the camera comes down, that baby's still crying,
still wailing, and you don't know how to rock them that they will start sleeping.
I agree with you on that one. I don't actually think everyone should be a parent, especially that's why you have so many parents that aren't that aren't active in their children's lives, that don't really hone in on the responsibility that it takes with raising a child. So I genuinely believe that some people are just having kids just for the sake of having kids, because they're like, oh, this is my mini me, I can dress her up as me, I can dress him up as me, I can take them out. But then when it comes to the nitty gritty of it, it's like they either offload it to the other parent, or they're like, oh, I don't really want to address this or do it.
The only bit that I wanted to say that I didn't completely agree with was, I don't know if parenthood is being glamorized on the internet. I feel like because of that culture of transparency, that it depends on what your algorithm is. You get the good and the bad. I mean, some people are real. Maybe
I love kids.
So you see like the positive side.
Oh, I see it all
but
day.
There's a different side of parenthood.
You know what? There's the girl with the list on TikTok about why people don't want to have kids no more. You're right. So I guess.
But you're absolutely right though about it being glamorous. You know why? Because there's There's this couple, I don't know her at or where I wouldn't even say her at anyway, but they live in America, and she had a newborn baby. She set up her camera, a ring light, and then she's showing how the baby wakes up like every 2 hours, like throughout the night to feed. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, I just thought, how did we get here? Like, I know what we want to do content, but the room is pitch black. Her husband is sleeping. She set up ring light.
Yeah.
And the baby sleep with that?
People are genuinely saying like what's going on?
It's a question.
It's a lot.
I think, and it's to your point earlier that how far people are willing to go in terms of what they're sharing. I think the lines are blurred. I think people are happy to show, as in we know when your child has a diaper rash because you've told us,
which is insane, by the way.
Guys, all
it's stuff like that. Like you're happy to tell people.
You're telling me about your children's doctor's appointments. I just think that we've lost our way.
I just feel like
we've lost our way.
I just genuinely, and yes, I am considering the fact that not everybody has community. Fair enough, and they feel like social media is their release and where they can put
internet is
things
the
on.
community.
And honestly, that's why sometimes I do feel privileged, because I have a community, and I feel like there's so many things, there's so many stages I will go through before I go on the internet with my business.
Yeah,
and I acknowledge
I think I'll go to someone in the street before I go on the internet. No, genuinely. No, I'm genuinely just being honest, because I'll be having conversations with people on public transport.
Right.
So wow, you're powerful.
So I can imagine me to be like, I just had a baby. Like
you've had you can just chat and you're,
because I'm never going to see them again.
I've released,
and human to human, like that's how we should human be. Interaction on a human level. We should be able to.
I think it's so dangerous.
Sympathize with the needs of our fellow
but on the
humanity,
internet, it's staying there forever.
You see, that's why. Have you seen the increase in apology videos? That's why.
That's facts.
No, but let's speak the truth. That's why there's an increase in people apologizing for the thing, because it's either because I don't agree with most apology videos, because a lot of the time I'm sane.
Are you meant to?
No, do you know what it is? I'm sane enough to even hear them out, give them a benefit of the doubt, because some people genuinely say things to me like them unpopular opinions. Like I agree, like, but I'm not gonna. Do you get
right?
But they feel like they have to put an apology, because guess what? The narrative has been twisted. Again, that's what the internet does. So just be careful.
There's that too. But then, do you know why I actually think about the parenting one specifically? I heard from influencers that when you get pregnant, the amount of money you make as an influencer can triple. So I also think that
pregnancy
is why,
content
because
popping.
Huggies and Pampers, they're going to reach out to you.
Wow.
The people that sell Buggy, they're going to reach out to you.
It's true. Avino is going to reach out.
They're going to reach out to you. Like having a kid on the internet is very profitable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it really, really is. And people have capitalized on it. Like, why is family vlogging a thing? People like seeing the family unit, and there's ways to do it that are ethical, in my opinion. But
of course,
not to the point where, like, I feel like if you started as a vlogger already and then you end up having a child, is different to you,
because you're still a human. You still have a life outside of your content.
And even if you start a family channel, you know what, go and start the family channel. There's nothing wrong with starting the family channel, but what are your motivations? Because I feel like people know that kids, I don't know why as well. I find it really interesting though, because I actually want to understand why kids, like kid content, get so much views, because there's the nasty side to it that people have been speaking about.
I was going to say that,
which is really actually disgusting and horrifying. But then apart from that, like I wonder. Well, I guess. That's,
do you know, it appeals to a wider audience. Like when you think about female influencers, of course, like the average guy is not gonna. Unless, fair enough, whatever. But when it comes to children, like they tug at a special place in your heart. Like you can be scrolling and if you see like a child say like, oh, my baby, like there's this one particular content creator where she shows how she's cooking with her son, and her views are just out of cute. Like she always gets a million. So I get that when people see that, like, oh, like a baby's cooking, so it makes sense that would appeal to a wider and a broader audience in comparison to if it's just you. Exactly. I get it, but there is the dark side, and that's a whole other conversation.
That dark side is crazy.
It's dirty.
And on top of the dark side is, not to go too far off topic, but the AI part. Are you seeing that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll have to call it a close.
Yeah, no, honestly.
But I genuinely think we should talk about that children's one actually, because I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. Yeah.
Definitely. But thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
As usual. And we'll see you on our next episode.
Bye.